Okay, time for 10 through 1 of my top 20 bands. Number 10, Tool. Definitely a love-hate relationship that metal fans have with Tool. And I hear ya, Tool fans can definitely be insufferable. And Undertow is, to me, just a good album. But everything up to and including Fear Inoculum, I think it's perfect. I always thought they were a solid band, but just as the years come on, I never get bored of them. The meaning changes every time. I hear new things every time. I think of them as the Twin Peaks of music. It's always new things to discover and new ways to read into things. Is there anything to it? Probably not. But yeah, I'm definitely a big Tool fan. Number 9, Emperor. I think this is the highest black metal band on this list. The first band that I fell in love with in the genre. It always reminded me of growing up in the summertime, just hanging out at the cottage when my parents had one way back in the day. That's why black metal's always been kind of summertime music to me. It just brings me back to those summers where you don't have a care in the world, and I would just flip through magazines and stuff by the water. And that stuff never leaves you. Favorite Emperor album, definitely Anthems. That's probably my most listened to metal album of all time. If not my favorite, it's the one that it just stays in rotation. Number 8, Van Halen. Growing up, my dad was a big Sammy Hagar Van Halen fan, and I by no means am a listener to that these days. I did like some songs, and it was early introduction to rock music, which I'll always be thankful for. And my dad also had a Van Halen greatest hits cassette that was about half Sammy Hagar and half David Lee Roth, and I heard Can't Talking About Love on there, and I was just like, hey, now this is what I've been looking for. That's still my favorite Van Halen song, and the David Lee Roth years with Van Halen are 10 out of 10 across the board. I mean, I guess with the exception of Diver Down and the last one, but that was still a solid album. Better than I could have expected. Number 7, Agalloch. Agalloch are kind of a weird one where a couple years might go by where I don't listen to them, and then I just remember, oh yeah, Agalloch, and they're all I listen to for 6 months. And I think one of those eras is about to start right now. Another summertime band for me. And I think they're just amazing. I think any music fan who gave it a chance and could get past the vocals would be blown away. And just very sentimental, touching music. Is The Mantle my favorite? I'm not too sure. I used to think everyone says that. It's not my favorite. But I don't know. As years go on, that one has kind of proven to be the most timeless. And some of those interludes, the instrumental ones like The Lodge and Odal. I remember just last summer I was looking at some pictures of my family hanging out at the beach, and I was listening to The Mantle in the background, and it was just so moving, just looking at pictures of your kids and listening to emotional music like this. Awesome band. And as I said in a video I made like a week ago, I guess they've agreed to reform and do some shows, so I hope I get to see one of those. But who am I kidding? Unless it's close to home, I probably won't be making any trips, that's for sure. Just can't do it. Number 6, Judas Priest. When I was quite young, I got my hands on a Sin After Sin cassette, and then a Stained Class CD soon after. But even still, it took me to get well into my 20s before I started filling in the gaps in my collection. But again, Black Sabbath and Judas Priest together, how can you not argue they're the 1 and 2 metal bands? May not your favorite, but when it comes to who's the most important to metal, yeah, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath. My favorite Judas Priest, I think I've gone over it a bunch, but I gotta go with Painkiller. Defenders being a close second. Number 5, Neurosis. Where do you begin? Some of the most amazing, honest music ever. Definitely my most respected band ever. One of the best live bands ever. Can't say enough good things about them. And it's even hard to pick a favorite album by them. But A Sun That Never Sets, that's been my favorite over the last 5 years or so. Number 4, Swans. The early stuff is classic. The new stuff is all at least 8 out of 10. But everything from Children of God up to Soundtracks for the Blind is just completely flawless. And again, the before and after is almost as good. Special band, and they'll always be very important to me. Number 3, Kiss. Yes, you could argue that half the songs that Kiss have made is bad to average, but they got enough awesome songs that they'll always be a staple in my listening. My kids all like Kiss. My wife likes Kiss. It's just the go-to around my house. Number 2, Black Sabbath. Hard to deny that they're not the first and the greatest heavy metal band ever. I like the Tony Martin stuff. Born Again, I can take or leave. 13's good, not great. But all the Ozzy albums, even the last 2, I'm going to say 10 out of 10. Dio album's flawless. What can you say? Black Sabbath. And my number 1, Bathory. I don't love every single album. And I don't own every single album by any means either. But they're my number 1 for a couple reasons. First and foremost, I think Blood, Fire, Death, Hammerheart, and Twilight of the Gods are 3 of the best metal albums of all time. Some people criticize the clean singing on the latter 2 albums there. I don't get it. It gives it its charm. Just flawless albums. Very special albums. And the first 3, I don't listen to as much, but pioneered black metal the way we understand it now. Gave rise to so many bands I've come to love and genres I've come to love. Even the stuff after Twilight of the Gods was hit and miss. Okay, Requiem and Octagon, I don't really care about. But every song after that would even still have some epic songs. The last 2 Viking albums were great. Just all they've done, they kept that sense of mystery. That's why I mentioned before that there's a Bathory book coming out, and I can't wait to get some more details. But all the mystery surrounding them to this day is very rare and gives them that air of greatness. But just kind of a detour before I end this. I was thinking of when Destroyer of Worlds came out, and that was probably, 2002, 2003, was following a long break. And Quorthon never gave a ton of interviews, but while promoting Destroyer of Worlds, or just before that, I clearly remember a couple interviews he did. One was with Metal Maniacs, where the interviewer was being a little bit, I won't say confrontational, they were fair questions that Quorthon didn't really want to deal with. But him just getting bent out of shape was just was a little bit funny. But more so than that was a magazine called Metal Rules. I see there's a website called Metal Rules, but I think it's a totally different thing. There used to be a print magazine called Metal Rules, and this was 20 years ago when I was reading it. It's long gone. But it was a really funny metal magazine. It was basically hair metal all the way up to extreme metal. But it was legitimately funny. And I remember they had some interview with Quorthon where they started asking him silly questions, and he did not take it well. And they asked some question about his mom, and he starts saying like, "What do you know about my mom? Don't talk about my mom" thing. And then I think they ended the interview with "Hails to your mom." It was just it was really bizarre, but I wish I still had that. That magazine was awesome, and I took a look and I see nothing about it out there. But anyways, that's rounding out my top 20 bands. Thank you for watching. Bye.